Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Jay Stevens podcast. Before I get into the show and the topics that have been prepared for the day, I would like to take this time to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that's taken time out of their busy day to send text messages, tweets, make Facebook comments. Even those of you that I work with that have taken time to come up to me and show your excitement, not only after hearing about the podcast, but also after listening to the podcast. It really means a lot. The podcast is something I've been thinking about starting for quite a while, but I've kept it to myself the entire time. So I wasn't sure how people would receive the news of the podcast being out, of Jay having his own podcast. Everyone listening to the sound of my voice has started something new. Some people have moved to a new city. Some have even started their own business. Anytime we start something new, there are thoughts of being nervous about the new adventure. Some people are asking why. Some people are asking how. But no matter what the venture, people have questions. And I'm sure some of the questions that I had are some of the same questions you have whenever you start something new in your life. I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't sure how people were going to respond. I wasn't sure what was going to be coming next. But I do know that I really appreciate every person's word, every person's kind word, because it really means a lot. You encouraging me is helping me do episode 2. Because I could have easily put episode 1 out and folded. Said, hey, man, I got episode 1 out. People like it. Let's just keep that. Let's just keep episode 1. Not go further. Not go forward with this thing. Let's just stop at episode 1. People liked it so much. Nah, I don't want to give them more. Let's just keep it where it is. But I really appreciate everyone being so encouraging of the podcast. Upon releasing the news of the podcast being out, there were a few people that stuck out more than most. The first 3 being my family, my mom, my dad, and my brother. My brother actually ended up taking a screenshot, putting it into our family group chat, and each person responded in their own way. And it was very memorable to me. It meant a lot to me. My mom sent me a couple texts. My mom sent one the day that she heard of the news. And then also a couple days later when her and my dad got time to listen to the first episode together. And it really meant a lot. My dad sent a text, and his was short, like 3 or 4 words. But as I read his text, I was almost like I was listening to him say, "I see you, Jay." And it really meant, I just started laughing when I saw it. I had a big smile on my face. My brother shared the post on his Instagram story and promoted it that way. He also called me shortly before recording this episode asking, why did you tell anybody about the podcast? I said, Jeremy, I kept it to myself. I didn't know how I was going to get it out. I knew I wanted to do one, but there were so many questions about the podcast itself. I didn't want to start proclaiming it and talking about it so much that it took a lot longer than I wanted for it to actually be published. So I just kept it. I kept everything to myself. Not only was our family memorable, but there was also my buddy Marcus Bueller. He responded in the way that only Mark could. Dramatic and very, very happy. He kind of became my personal hype man. I sent Mark a text Thursday before I went to work of the screen. I took a screenshot of the screen you see when you search the podcast on Spotify. I sent it to Mark, and I think his text said I'm not really sure what it said. I'm pretty sure it said and it was elongated, very, very long. But before he left for work, he started playing the show, and I believe he walked into where his wife and children were. They listened to it together. Well, he didn't tell his wife that the episode was out, that Jay had a podcast. So he told me that shortly after his wife started listening, he said, Liv looked at him and said, "Hey, is that Jay?" And Mark said, "Yeah, Jay has a podcast. He put he put a podcast out." And we jumped this over the phone. I just started laughing. I had a big smile on my face because I'm so excited that he's excited about what's going to be coming and that this project that's been on my mind is finally out. But we get to work. And before I can even get in the building, it seemed like Mark saw me before I walked into the building. I take a few steps into the building, and Mark looks at me and yells, "Hello, everyone. This is Jay Stevens of the Jay Stevens podcast. I start laughing and I just start smiling, a big, big smile on my face. Mark looks around and realizes that he's the only one that knows the news. And I said, Mark, they don't know yet. Mark said, oops, I messed up. I said, no, you're fine. I was going to tell everybody eventually. So Mark progressed and proceeded to tell people that Jay has his own podcast. I'm thinking, oh, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you being my promoter. I really thank you for it. You're not getting paid for it. It's kind of like an agreement when we became friends. I'd help you, I'd promote stuff you do, and vice versa. He don't care, man. Mark's a good buddy. Later on that day, all throughout the day actually, even through the weekend, Mark told everybody, Jay has a podcast. You should listen to it. Even earlier today at his daughter's first birthday party, he was telling people in their 60s and 70s, Jay has a podcast. People, you can look at it and tell they don't know what a podcast is. They don't even know how to. They wouldn't even know how to find it on their phone. And we told them, you got to search Jay's podcast. You got to listen to it. We didn't care. He's telling everybody. He's telling everybody that Jay has a podcast. Not only Mark, a guy I work with, but also another guy, Caleb. I actually found out Caleb was telling random customers at work yesterday, have you heard of Jay's podcast? You should check it out. Oh, have you heard about Jay? Jay has a podcast. You should check it out. And I'm thinking, Caleb, I appreciate your willingness to hype me up, man, but you don't have to do that, but I really do appreciate it. Everyone's kind words really do mean a lot. They mean more than you ever will know. I could go on for a long time about how thankful I am for everyone and different people's reactions upon listening to the first episode, but enough of that. Let's actually get to some actual sports talk for the day. In each episode, we're going to be there will be two segments that will be staples in every single episode. The first will be the statement from social media, and in that I will take one person's post, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Those will be the primary three. So occasionally Snapchat, but any avenue of social media, I will be able to take what you post and utilize that for the show. Today's post, today's statement comes from Facebook. That's all I'll tell you at this time. In a few minutes, you'll see and realize maybe why I utilized this statement for the day. Not only that, but then at the end of each show, there will be a segment where I talk about nothing about sports. It's more an idea or a thought that has provoked me to think about something for quite a long time. Sometimes it's for that week, or sometimes it is more so for longer than that, but it happens to be that week it is the last word for the day. Now that's enough of talking about things to come with the podcast. Let's get to the first segment of the day, and that is the statement from social media. The first statement comes from a guy that I went to high school with. His name is Mr. Jeremy Ferries. Jeremy posted a question shortly after the end of the NBA draft lottery, his question wasn't what got me thinking. It was a statement that he made shortly thereafter that got me thinking. His question reads, so, should Zion Williamson go on and play for the New Orleans Pelicans, or should he go back to Duke for another year? One of his buddies followed that up with, why risk getting hurt at Duke? Jeremy followed that up with, if I were him, I'd play, make millions, and possibly turn the team around if possible. But these guys shouldn't have to go play for bad organizations if they don't want to. And that's exactly what got me thinking, Jeremy. I appreciate you putting that out there. These guys shouldn't have to go to bad organizations if they don't want to. I'm 30 years old. I currently sell cars in Avon, Indiana. When I got the opportunity to sell cars in Avon, I wasn't forced. I wasn't put into a pool. I didn't take it. I didn't accept a job offer. And at the end, they say, oh, wait, you're not working here. This is just where we interview people. Andy Moore has a lot of dealerships. He needs people to travel. So we're gonna put your name into a hat with a pool of 20 other guys or 30 other guys or 60 other guys. And those guys are spread all throughout Central Indiana just like you. But you could end up in Avon, you could end up in Bloomington, you could end up in Fishers. We're not sure where you're going to end up going, but you can end up in any one of those places to sell cars. This all depends on what happens. So we're going to put your name in the hat, whatever comes up first. is what's going to happen. That wasn't the case. I was presented the job offer and I took it. I'm really appreciative of the offer that was presented to me. But Zion, we're going to stick with Zion for this segment. Zion doesn't have the freedom that I currently have right now. He's a one-of-a-kind athlete, one-of-a-kind talent. And putting his name into the NBA draft, you're subject to what team drafts you. Sound unfair to you? Not really. It's been the way the NBA has had it. Only thing that may be able to change is to change the NBA draft lottery itself, but that's a different topic for a different day. Zion being a one-of-a-kind talent is kind of why I believe this question was put out there. I mean, in the past few years, we've had different number one picks, but no one's really thought of them as the same height, and their name doesn't hold the same amount of weight as Zion's does. He is one of those talents that you see once every 10, maybe 15 years. We haven't seen a player hyped as much as Zion since maybe LeBron James in 2003. But a player not being able to pick his team and going to a bad organization, it's a crazy thought. I mean, the past few years we've had DeAndre Ayton go to the Phoenix Suns, Markelle Fultz go to the 76ers, Ben Simmons go to the 76ers, Karl Anthony Towns go to the Timberwolves. I don't remember anybody holding those players' names and those players. I don't remember anyone saying those players' names held the weight that Zion's does. But is he being forced to go to a bad organization, or is he going at his own free will? I would say the way the system is set up, he's being forced to go to whatever team drafts him. And right now it is the New Orleans Pelicans who will probably have that first pick. When free agency comes, and I'm going to end this here shortly, but when free agency comes, my thought process will probably be a little bit different in a month or so. The player wants to leave his team. I completely understand it. He wants to be free. He wants to do his own thing. I'm not going to knock players like I used to for wanting to go and wanting to make their own path when they already have a great path where they're at. I do grow up at a time when Reggie Miller was what the Pacers had. He was all the Pacers had, and he didn't leave at all. I think it was 17 total years Reggie Miller stayed in Indiana, and it could be why my mindset always has been is you try to stay where you were drafted. Now, I understand trades happen. I understand people leave for certain reasons. But try to stay where you were grounded. But you never know what that player is going to do. Zion in 3 or 4 years, he may be like, look, man, I'm out of here. This is a bad organization like some people have portrayed it to be. I don't want to be here anymore. I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for drafting me, but I am on to bigger and better things. Being a prospect like Zion is huge. It's amazing. But I probably will take the back seat to being that person that's going to be very, very critical of a free agent because you never know what they have gone through on the team that they have played for. And lastly, before we get out of here, before this second episode is over, we're going to have the last word segment. Now, granted, today the last word is literally one word, but that will not be the case every single week. Today's word is opinion. I'm not going to be very long with this. The definition of opinion reads, a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. Everyone has an opinion. I could say the restaurant Chipotle, and you have an opinion. You already have an opinion on their food. You can say clean home, and you already have an opinion on how to clean a home, how to keep a home clean, things of that nature. I can say the word vacation, and my goodness, how I would love a vacation right now. You have you're forming an opinion on the perfect vacation. That may be the first thing that comes to your mind, but we all have an opinion on something. And before I get out of here, I want to just say this one thing. This is something that has been a pet peeve of mine lately. Don't lash out at someone just because their opinion goes against what you believe. That goes for people that are in church. That goes for people that are outside of church. That goes for people that are family members. Those people that have been friends for years. That goes for people that you don't know. Don't lash out at someone because their opinion is different than yours. You do not know what that person is going through. I appreciate everyone coming by and listening to the second episode of the Jay Stevens podcast. Like I said last time, you can follow me on Twitter at Dr_J25. Once again, that is at Dr_JAY, the number 2 and the number 5. And new for this week, I have started an email. I do have an email address for the podcast. That is jstevenspod@gmail.com. Once again, that is jstevenspod@gmail.com. You can find the email address in the description of the podcast above the newest episode. Feel free to stop by, give comments, whatever you think about whatever you think about the show, no matter if it's good or bad. Positive and negative feedback will be appreciated. And then also, if you have different topics you want to be heard on the show, yes, I did say that there will be different guests that will be on the show down the road. But then also, you can leave comments, emails, things like that may be featured on future episodes. I probably will not use every ones if I get a lot, but there will be a couple that may be used in every single episode just to get some fan feedback, so you're not just listening to my ideas every single week. I appreciate everyone listening. I hope you have a great day.